This is the kind of life people dream about. After a fight with his wife, Jack disappeared into the wild, determined to build a hidden stone shelter underground. So secret you'd never guess where the entrance was. Cool air below. Roasted beef on the fire. Primitive living never felt so good. Jack searched the forest for the perfect place, and finally found it. He swung his pickaxe, clearing weeds, marked the spot, and began to dig. The soil was hard, too tough for a shovel, so he loosened it first, then shoveled the clumps aside. Before long, he had dug half a meter down. A bug rested on the edge of the pit, soaking in the sun until Jack's heavy strike startled it away. But Jack kept going, driving deeper into the earth. Now and then, Jack struck a stone in the dirt. He tossed the bigger ones aside, perfect for building his underground shelter later. The heat grew stronger. Sweat ran down his face. He hung his hat on a branch, stripped off his jacket, and kept digging in just a t-shirt. Soon he set off to search for supplies. Crossing a stream, he stumbled upon an abandoned lookout post with a ladder at the base. Climbing up was rough. He nearly slipped, but managed to scavenge a decent hole. He dropped useful items to the ground, then jumped down himself, making sure to grab the top hanging nearby. Back at the pit, he dug some more, cleared the soil, and finally sat down to drink deeply from his flask. The sky darkened, a cool wind blowing. Fearing rain, Jack quickly set up the top overhead. When he dug upward again, his pick struck limestone, a perfect find for building walls. Excited, Jack hauled the limestone up with the bucket he'd found. He kept chipping away at the wall, the pile of stone growing until it looked like a small hill. Then he marked a rectangle on the wall and began carving out a tunnel. The deeper he went, the harder the soil became. He gripped the pickaxe with both hands, pounding without pause. At last, the passage took shape. Jack climbed up and jumped hard a few times to test it. Solid, no movement at all. He dug a little longer, then started tunneling upward. After steady effort, daylight broke through. He had carved a secret entrance the way in and out of his stone shelter. Breathing heavily, Jack shoved the rocks aside and pulled himself out. Exhausted, he peeled back the top, stepped into the open, and brushed the dirt from his body. Jack brushed off the dirt, then went to the river. He rinsed his hands and arms, splashed water on his face. Droplets clung to his beard like it was waterproof. By the pond, lotus flowers bloomed. A frog waited silently on the water's surface. Crossing a small bridge, Jack tested it with a few jumps. Underneath, he found piles of stone perfect for his shelter. He shifted aside scrap metal and carried the rocks one by one. It took time, but he didn't stop until the pile was gone. Back in the woods, he found a larger sheet of iron and hauled it to the site. Jack set the biggest stones on the pit floor and filled the gaps with smaller ones. Jack gathered a small pile of limestone, crushed it into pieces with his shovel, and mixed the fragments with soil. Carrying a bucket of water from the river, he poured it over the mix, stirred it well, and shaped it into clay balls. One by one, he packed the balls into the gaps between stones, pressing them firmly with his hands until the wall looked sealed and solid. On top, he spread another layer of soil and hammered it tight with heavy rocks. Then Jack split larger stones in half with his pick, making them easier to stack. Soon, he had a growing pile, and carried them all down into the pit. Layer by layer soil, then stone. The walls rose steadily higher. Jack worked with care, filling every empty space. He pressed mud into the cracks, laid small stones across, and hammered each one down for strength. Another layer of soil went over, smoothed by hand. Before he stacked in more stone, the shelter's walls grew thicker. stronger, solid enough to withstand time and weather. Jack worked carefully, making sure no gaps were left so the walls would be strong. He laid stone slabs in place and filled the cracks with smaller rocks. Soon the stones ran out. So he returned to the bridge for more. There he found a massive slab too heavy for one man, but with effort he managed to haul it back. With practice he dug faster, shoveling earth into buckets and clearing the walls. Rain began to fall, yet Jack's tarp kept the site dry. He pressed on, stacking layer by layer, turning the pit into a real stone fortress. Dark at last he set a slab across the walls, another over the chimney. When the sun broke through again, the stone walls stood complete. Because the stone walls stood higher than the ground, Jack shoveled soil on the edges to even the height. He set a slab across the top, pressed it firm, then spread more soil to seal the gaps. Kicking it down solid with his boots, with endless strength, he carried another heavy slab, placed it across two stones, and packed it with mud, rolling a clay ball smooth in his hands. He tossed it high like a long three-pointer, and it landed straight into the chimney gap. Jack spread mud into every crevice of the stone wall. Then the rain came again, heavier this time, washing the leaves and grass clean. Water pooled in his bucket, leaving muddy water behind, perfect for mixing more clay on the spot. He lifted a lump of earth, brought it to the chimney's side, and pressed it carefully in place. Jack spread the mud carefully, pressed it tight with his hands, then peeked out from the chimney. Everything looked solid, so he stacked another ring of stones on top. A cool breeze rustled the laves as Jack swung his axe. Each strike was clean and sharp in no time. He had a pile of firewood. He dropped the logs down the chimney and returned to his candlelit shelter. Opening a box, he revealed an assortment of tools. He grabbed wood shavings and matches, split smaller sticks, and lit the kindling. Ranging them into a frame, he placed larger logs on top, so the fire would last. Then Jack pulled out a coil of rope, sawed wood to size, and stripped the bark. What do you think he's making next? That's right, he was building a ladder to climb down into the tunnel. Sawing through a thick log, the noise startled a frog nearby. Jack sharpened one end with his axe and dropped the piece into the stone shelter. He climbed down to test if the ladder fit perfectly, a natural match for the underground home. Next, he drove for stakes into the soil, hammered them deep with rocks, and laid heavy beams across. You can guess what came next. A bed. He stacked on dry grass, spread out a sheet, and the bed was ready. Back in the forest, Jack cut sturdy logs, stripped the bark clean, and dragged them to the site. He laid them across, then moved iron sheets on top to form a roof. Finally, he took a slotted board, coated it with mud, and placed it carefully over the chimney. Now, even in heavy summer rains, Jack could cook anytime with his fire safe below. He built a wooden board tied with sticks, coated it in mud, a perfect cover for the tunnel. Sure enough, he placed it on top, buried it with soil, and hid it completely from view. A branch braced the inside, while layers of dirt, iron sheets, and tarp sealed the roof. Then Jack pulled up grass by hand, spread it across the shelter, and decorated the surroundings with leaves. From above, it vanished into the forest floor. Back in the passage, he looked around with pride. After so much labor, his stone hideout was finally complete. He shut the door, lit a candle, and prepared for dinner. Mixing dough in a bucket, he let it rest under a cloth. Jack scored the dough, dusted it with flour, and baked it on a hot stone. Soon, a crisp loaf was ready. He sliced it, spread beef from a can, and enjoyed a simple, tasty dinner, each bite crunched. Bill Ulmer almost carrying through the screen. Afterward, he finished his water, took off his clothes, and lay down. With the candle out, Jack's day ended in quiet peace. Let's applaud his effort and skill, and hope we too can find the life we want.